Hello, welcome to our live stream. This is Pastor Sam, and we're going to talk about how to donate money to a charity online in memory of your loving parents who taught you love and respect. Folks, this is a very most commonly asked question most of the time. How do you choose a charity? What do you do? Well, the answer might surprise you, but it's quite obvious. You just have to pray about it and choose your favorite charity and go to the website and just do it on their website. Most of them have these days very, very secure portals that will ensure that your debit or credit card will stay safe. So there is very little thinking that requires about that. It's just how you feel about what your sort of emotional feeling about what they do, about their mission. So, for instance, you could go to www.agapedonations.org and see if you'll be moved to make a donation there. But what we're doing, folks, we're actually going to be building a community, an eco village in the country of Armenia. Well, you might be asking why Armenia, of all countries out there. Armenia was the first country to adopt Christianity as a state religion over 1700 years ago. That's right. 1,700 years ago, Armenia was the very first country that adopted Christianity in 301 Anno Domini, meaning in the year of our Lord. So the reason why I always emphasize, I always keep saying AD or Anno Domini, always after a year, and I highly suggest that you do the same, folks, is because if we don't do that, the secular world is going to suppress our belief system because they write after the year, they write BCE or uh, CE. So CE means common era, BC before common era. Now we would say before Christ or AD, meaning Anno Domini. It's Latin for in the year of our Lord. It's just we don't say anything other than AD. AD is Latin for in the year of our Lord. But the secular public, they don't like this terminology. So we have to verbally appear determined that we're going to stand our ground, folks. So use AD or BC before Christ after every time you cite the year, whatever you're talking about in writing or in person. Why? Because this emphasizes, highlights our Christian affiliation, that we're people of faith. It's very important, or else pretty much folks will be disallowed to even use the words such as God, faith, or church. So, anyway, this is just a side note, but back to our main topic. So, if you're interested in moving to an exotic location, we will be building our community in Armenia in the next 6 to 12 months. Armenia is a mountainous country surrounded by mountains. So, you'll see Mount Ararat. That's right, Mount Ararat. This is where Noah descended and settled in the Ararat Valley. And they say, tradition says that he settled somewhere near the village of Arax in Armenia, in the Ararat Valley. So Noah descended about 9,500 years ago, approximately 10,000 years ago. He descended Mount Ararat. He settled with his family in the Ararat Valley, and this is where how our planet was repopulated from that area. So we will be walking by and waking up and looking outside our windows. Looking outside our windows, we'll be seeing magnificent view of Mount Ararat, folks, which is a magnificent mountain. It's quite far away, but it's going to be still. It's so big that it's going to be very close. If we lived any closer, we wouldn't get that majestic look of it. We wouldn't be able to sort of process the shape of it if we lived right on it or next to it. So it's about 20, maybe 10 miles away, something like that. But it's visible as if you could. It's remarkably majestic. In fact, it's you will see the thumbnail for this video will be Mount Ararat. There's the Greater Ararat, 5,137 meters tall, and Lesser Ararat, a little over 3,000 meters tall. So, of course, Mount Greater Ararat is where Noah's Ark is. Noah descended from Mount Ararat down into the Ararat Valley to a place called today the village of Arax, right by the Arax River. And this Arax River, also called the Araxes River, as known in the Akkadian or Babylonian writings, it's one of the oldest rivers out there. It's not very big, but it was the source of life. So, in other words, if you wanted to pick a place to live, you wouldn't want to live too far away from a river source. That's why everybody settled near a river or near a water source, and that's why Noah and his family settled by the Arax River, where today is the Arax village. And there is a really nice monument dedicated to the Sardarapart battle. That's where the Armenian people gathered together to essentially defend their nation during the last threat that they experienced in 1918 Anno Domini, a little over 100 years ago, which was victorious for the Armenians. They're the first Christian nation, and they're surrounded by Muslim countries in Armenia. So they have Azerbaijan to their east, which is a Muslim country, and Turkey to their west, which is another Muslim country. And of course, they have Iran to their south, which is another Muslim country. Yeah, now to the north, they do have Georgia, which is Georgians are Christians. But overall, it's a kind of an interesting neighborhood. But majestic views of Mount Ararat. God's hand is protecting the Republic of Armenia and its people. And so we plan to build our community almost entirely kind of monolithic after the Finhorn Foundation or the Finhorn Eco Village. Let me just, if you're not familiar with Finhorn, let me tell you just a few words about Finhorn. So, Finhorn is a legendary faith-based community in Scotland. It was sort of envisioned by a couple, a lovely couple, Eileen and Peter, that were driving in their camper from England. They're English, and they were driving they were doing essentially the same thing. They were trying to pick a spot where to build a community, and they drove all the way north in Scotland until they couldn't drive anymore when the road ended in Finhorn Bay, which is all the way northeastern Scotland. It's lots of windy, um, conditions, sub-zero temperatures, nothing grows. But they were driving the camper, and they decided to settle there. They couldn't drive any further. Now, by the way, they call them, those campers in Europe, they call caravans. So they were driving that's what they call caravan out there, which we would call in America Winnebago camper. But anyway, so they were driving their camper. They stopped in 1962, folks. That's when they started that's when they were moved by the Spirit to start their community. And so now today, it's a remarkably energy efficient, high technology eco village. They have 4 wind turbines. They have solar panels everywhere. They don't really use money per se. They essentially they barter. They don't even barter. They perform work on their community, and they have electric cars and a bunch of charging stations. Everything is high tech, very lovely housing. They have beautiful, beautiful garden. They have waterfalls everywhere. They have a small wastewater treatment plant. Yes, they know how to treat their water so that when they dump it into I guess it's into the North Sea, it's clean or whatever they do with it is clean. They have a wastewater treatment plant. They have generators. They have solar panels. They have all kinds of gizmos and gadgets that make them quite advanced, although they remain faith-based. So it's a faith-based community. And what's most remarkable, folks, that nothing grows there in northern Scotland. Just nothing. You can't grow anything because it's too cold. It's almost by the Arctic Circle. It's pretty much almost touching the Arctic Circle. It's kind of in that area where in July and August you could read a newspaper at night. The sun never sets. It doesn't go down all the way where it gets dark in the summertime. So it's all the way up there. And so they still had the vision. Today it's 350 strong. So there are 350 people living there permanently from all over the world. And this is what we would like to do with our Agape Ministries out there in Armenia. We're not going to Scotland, folks. We're going to Armenia, to the first Christian nation. They have a much, 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 much better climate. It's very fertile land in the Ararat Valley. They have phenomenal watermelons. They have melons. They have the world famous apricots in Armenia. In fact, the word apricot in Latin is something like Armenicanus of apricotus or something like that. It's got that Latin name. If you look it up, you'll see apricot is based on the Armenian, and it's the most ancient culture and country in the world. The writing system, the latest modern updated writing system, was invented by a famous Armenian philosopher and linguist 1600 years ago in 405 Anno Domini. His name was Mesrop Mashtots. He was an interpreter, obviously a devout Christian. But before 405 AD, so before 1600 years ago, when he invented this new distinct writing system that's today known as the Armenian alphabet, they used cuneiform writing system. Cuneiform, just like the Babylonians, just like the Sumerians. And they, in fact, go back 8,000 years ago, 7,500 years ago with their early texts. Wherever they lived, they used Assyrian, Aramaic, Babylonian, and also Urartian cuneiform writing system. Urartu, the kingdom of Urartu, one of the oldest kingdoms in the world. And that's what Armenia used to be known as. It was called Greater Armenia, and right before it was the kingdom of Urartu, approximately 3,000 years ago. But so, and they were basically at war with the Roman Empire, at war with the Persian Empire, at war with other empires in the region, until finally they've lost quite a bit of their territory and became the Republic of Armenia in 1918, Anno Domini, a little over 100 years ago. So the territory shrunk quite a bit, but nonetheless, it's a first Christian nation with lots of history, with a lot more history than the Jewish people, a lot more history than the Chinese people. It's the most ancient, essentially, they're the folks, the reason why we're going there, they are the descendants of Noah. You heard me right. They live in a country of Noah. They call him Papa Noah, and they all have the genetic. They are the genetic specimen of Noah, which in a way we all are. But they are. Just imagine waking up every morning and drinking the water that Noah drank, and seeing Mount Ararat outside your window, and drinking that water. They have this amazing, incredible, most tasty water on the planet. Once you taste it, it's very cold. It comes from the ground and from the mountains. But once you taste that pure, they call it melted ice water from the glaciers in the mountains. They have mountains everywhere, like they're surrounded by mountains. They have mountains galore in Armenia. Indeed, they have mountains galore. So our eco-village, we plan to make it so that all of our windows will be always looking outside towards Mount Ararat, and we'll be located so close to it. I mean, close enough to where always, no matter the weather, we'll always see Mount Ararat. in our windows. So whether we're drinking tea or coffee, which we always pretty much drink water, if it's just filtered water. We stopped drinking coffee or tea, folks, many years ago. We want to live to be 150 or 200 years old. And in order to do that, you have to cut down on all processed food, on all anything that's stimulating, no stimulating drinks of any kind, and just basically salads, nuts. Now, yeah, I mean, if you eat meat, that's your business, but uh, they have very, very tasty barbecue in Armenia called the Armenian shish kebab. That's also 7,000 years old. They call it horovats in Armenian language. So you could be if you eat meat, you could be um, you might get very addicted to the Armenian horovats or Armenian barbecue out there. It's very tasty. It's unlike anything you've tried in the world. It's really uh, what is it? Finger licking good food. So anyway, folks, so this is our plan. So if you want to join us, by all means, write to us on our website below this video. Just let us know you want to join us, especially if you've been through a lot in life. You're so tired of, you want a genuine faith, a genuine Christian community, genuine sort of like-minded individuals who are looking for something meaningful in life. I'm not even gonna say, something biblical, of course, something biblical, but beyond that, it's something, like you wake up, you look outside your window, you see Mount Ararat, you remember Noah, you instantly remember what he's gone through. He spent a whole year inside his ark in a giant boat that was built by the angels, by the way, because a human being could not have built it. I mean, he was building it during the day, but at night, powerful angels would help expedite the project. So uh, Noah was very unique. The reason why he was picked by God to be saved, because he was the kindest soul on the face of the earth, folks. It's not just that he was righteous. He was kind. Most of all, the love of God was inside his heart. That's why he was picked. He was fully telepathic. He would not even harm not only just a human being, folks. He would not even harm a blade of grass. Like, he would walk around, if he could. He would walk on stones, rocks, rocky soil, instead of walking on flowers or plants or even grass. And we try to do the same, folks. We try to be very, very kind in memory of Noah, in memory of how kind he was, because that's the similar stories about Enoch, the seventh from Adam, who walked with God, and then he was no more because God took him because of his kindness, folks. Again, he was on the frequency of God, and that's what we're going to strive for, to achieve the frequency of God. We cannot see God face to face because God is spirit, but we can get on his frequency. So this is the modern scientific way of saying we need to get on the frequency of God, meaning we need to get on in the presence of God. That's what that means. And in fact, if Jesus was around today, he would probably use the same language, that we must get on the frequency of God, much like a radio station that we try to tune in. If you still have a radio at home or in your car when you're driving, you use the seek function, or the knob, to tune into the frequency, into the radio station you want. And that's very similar to tuning in into the frequency of God through kindness, love, and kindness. Many people today don't know how to define or how to approach love. We are talking about, of course, agape love here, and love and just in general. But kindness is the sister of love. Most people can relate to kindness, but perhaps they're too far away to comprehend what love is. But agape, what is agape love, or just the word agape? Folks, agape is a biblical word of Greek origin. And if we were to translate agape into English, it simply means the perfect, divine, unconditional love of God that surpasses all understanding. Because in all humility, folks, we cannot comprehend what agape love is all about. It's beyond anything. We would simply stop breathing if we got into that presence of God and just even remotely feel the agape love of God. We live in so much, folks, in so much darkness compared to what God's presence is when He emanates that super bright light of His love, that agape love, that super high vibrational frequency where it's beyond comprehension, folks. And this is why when you see an animal on the street, folks, when you meet, when you see an animal on the street, on the road, somewhere out there, I'm not talking about your pet at home. Like if you have a dog or a cat, this is not what I'm talking about now. Obviously, we love our pets. This is not it, folks. But you'll see in Armenia, there are a lot of, well, they're kind of street dogs and cats, but they're more than that. They're kind of communal, folks. They're communal. The community feeds them, the community pets them, and they wag their tails. You'll see that when you come to Armenia, and they're communal animals. But when you see those, like, should we call them street animals or nobody's dogs, nobody's cats, folks, when you see them, this is God's reminder that you can meet God by being kind to those animals, because it reminds us that those animals are created a little bit, they're slightly lesser creatures, kind of like we are slightly less of a creature than, let's say, if we were to meet a powerful angel of God. There's no comparison between us and the angels of God. And likewise, animals were created a little bit on the lower uh, tier of creation, but they're still cute. They're still operate on that frequency of kindness and love, I guess. And so if we don't show them love and kindness, we're kind of disconnected from the presence of God, or the frequency of God. That's right. So when you see an animal out there, folks, just pause for a second. Your life will not get delayed. Just pause for a minute and let that dog wag its tail, and maybe you could pet it, folks. That dog doesn't want anything from you but your attention, your love, your kindness, your TLC, just a little bit of attention, that you care for it. And when the angels of God see your kindness that you show to that little street animal, you will be rewarded tenfold, perhaps even 100-fold, because that shows kindness, that turns on the valve inside of you that emanates the same divine energy that God emanates, the energy of love. This is why angels are trying to understand us. We're so incredibly, in a way, powerful, because we have that nature of God inside of us. We have that spark of God's energy in us, but it's buried beneath. It's so deep, and so we're so, in a way, we're powerful, and at the same time, we're powerless. We are powerless because we forget about who we are, folks. We forget about our proximity to God. He lives in all of us. Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you, folks. Don't be looking out for the kingdom of God somewhere else out there in the distant places. No, no, no. The kingdom of God is within us, folks. And so during this live stream, I'm just moved to share with you that we are all, we walk before God, just like Enoch, the seventh from Adam, walked before God. He was just quite a bit closer to him. He was quite a bit right on his frequency. Back to Noah, folks, just like Enoch, Noah was fully telepathic. He could read your thoughts. He could heal you. He could heal any one of his family, like he was hypersensitive. So if any one of his family was ill or sick or not well, he could sense it remotely, and he would send mentally, telepathically, he would send good wishes, good positive energy, and lots of love, true love, perhaps a form of agape love towards that person. That person would right away or very quickly feel better. That person would be healed, would feel better. And that's Noah. And what's most remarkable about Noah, he was so kind that animals followed him everywhere. Animals, yes, yes, yes. You might say, well, how did he get all those animals on his boat? Folks, animals followed him everywhere because of his kindness, the kindness of his heart and his soul. And so they followed him everywhere. Like he had a bunch of animals of all kind of animals following him everywhere he went, and he was never alone essentially, and he would always pet him and play with them and talk to them. And yes, in those days you could talk to them. It was a different time, folks. Not 10,000 years ago. It was a completely different time. And I don't want to digress too much, but it was a very, very different time and different communication style that people had. And so we have Mount Ararat, a symbol of hope, renewal, and God's love and grace, because Mount Ararat represents salvation of Noah's family and all of our salvation. On the other spectrum, on the other end, a little bit north of Armenia, a little bit north of Mount Ararat, in fact, it's more like northwest, there's another mountain that represents evil. This is another mountain that another group of entities descended from under the leadership of Azazel. So Azazel was one of the watchers, and the mountain he descended with his 200 fallen angels was Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon is still it is located on the eastern side of Syria. It borders Syria and northern Lebanon. And so tradition has it that the watchers, Azazel and his crew, 200 fallen angels, were watching. I mean, literally, that's why they're called the watchers. They were watching the human beings, and they're watching. And keep in mind, folks, those angels they have incredible intellectual capacity, knowledge, power, this and that, this and that. I can go on, but the point, I'm not trying to elevate them. I'm just stating the fact. They're much more evolved than the human beings in every respect. So when they look at us, folks, they see almost like everything. And they were amazed at the purity of mostly women. Yes, 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 especially young women who haven't known men yet, who were not given in marriage yet. And they were just impressed and just then they were obsessed over them, and then they decided to go down into the valley and mate with them. That's right. You can find this passage that describes this unfortunate incestual relationship in the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 4. You could read about it, Genesis 6, verse 4, where it says, in those days, the sons of God saw that the earthly women were beautiful, and they decided to take wives for themselves, whoever they chose. And there were giants in the land. The word giants, the Bible uses a special Hebrew word, Nephilim. Nephilim, it's a special, they were not just tall people, folks. It was an interbreeding between the angelic realm and the human realm. Essentially, unfortunately, those tall angelic beings that were just irresistibly beautiful, folks. In some other sources, they were described as, yes, in some other Vedic sources, they were described as something like 100 billion times more beautiful than any human being. So it's something unimaginably, just phenomenally beautiful, just incredibly beautiful, symmetrical, tall and strong, and whatever, handsome, wise, and like the symmetry of their eyelashes to their cheekbones, to their eyes, to their fingers, to their shoulders, to their waist, to their hips, to their feet, to their everything was they were superbly constructed. So you look at them and you fall down and you wouldn't want to worship them. Basically, the human eye instantly goes limp, or you get paralyzed with the beauty of those creatures, folks. They didn't have any wings, folks. Just keep in mind, wings were just borrowed from the Babylonian kingdom and the Persians, and that's the symbolism for the angels, meaning they were superior beings. But there were no wings, folks. Please, no wings. They were just, we don't know exactly what they looked like, but probably like human beings, except they were tall and incredibly, well, you might say handsome or beautiful, because they were somewhat um, androgynous in terms of their gender. We don't know for sure, but they were supposedly neither male nor female, but somehow they were able to make women pregnant with their knowledge. So what they did is they gave incredible amount of information, terabytes of data, you might say, to women and men. For men, they gave the knowledge of how to make steel. Damascus steel came from that encounter. So how to make weapons, how to defend themselves, how to kill their enemies. To the women, they gave the knowledge of sorcery, witchcraft, how to, casting of spells. To the men, they also gave the knowledge of reading of the stars and constellations. They were named during those sessions, those educational lectures that they were giving to the local men. So men were also getting some knowledge. But anyway, tremendous amount of information was shared with those people in that valley, in that region, by those 200 fallen angels, folks. In return, essentially, they took of any of those virgin women for themselves as wives, and they were basically procreating. So just picture this: you cannot even look or gaze into their eyes and not be mesmerized, because when they look at you, folks, it's like you see eternity in their eyes, and then through their eyes, you see kind of yourself. You begin to understand who you are as a human being by looking inside their eyes. Except there is a quite a bit of perversion there. Perversion because they gave you so much data that human beings were not meant to know these things, folks. We were meant to be like little, cute little puppies, or sort of like little kittens out there. We were meant to be innocent, is my point. Like animals, they're very innocent. They don't have computers. They don't know technology. They don't work with AI. They don't have refrigerators, folks. You know what I mean. We were meant to stay in that realm, but more elevated, of course. But still, we were not meant to be this technologically uh, advanced. And this technological revolution was given instantaneously by those 200 fallen angels, because they had, unlimited, in a way, information or wisdom or knowledge base. And so what happened? This, by the way, this is before Noah was born. This is before Methuselah was born. This is at the time. Well, I mean, Methuselah lived for almost 1,000 years, so he was probably already born. My point is, folks, this is the time, the pre-flood, and the reason why the flood happened, because of this mixing of the angelic realm, fallen angels, and the earthly female uh, virgins. They gave birth to giants who were 20, 30, 40 feet tall. They were just like folks. They were kind of like the fallen angels, except with a twist. They were human. Well, the angels were purely angelic beings. These were a mix of the two, and thus was the worst combination. So they were very knowledgeable, very strong. I mean, they were like 3, 4 times the height of most men. So there was no way you could win a battle with them. This is where, remember that guy, what's his name? David against the Goliath. Goliath was a remnant, a distant remnant of those giants. So in other words, he was already quite stupid, quite small in size, even though he was much taller than the rest. Those giants were incredibly tall, incredibly smart, and incredibly angry and evil, and they were super logical. There was no love of God inside of them, is my point. There was zero love inside of them. They wouldn't stop to pet my point. There was zero love inside of them. They wouldn't stop to pet an animal in the street. They would they would animal. They would kill morals. They had zero morals, folks. So they were basically cutting people open. They were sacrificing children. They were doing things that they were unimaginable. I don't even want to go there. But the point, folks, the human race was in a pickle. They were in a bind because they were ruled or they were surrounded by these incredibly powerful and incredibly evil race of giants that ruled over them now. Because if you're that strong, if you're that powerful, if you're that tall, and you kind of sort of look like human, but you're not, you're half god, half angelic, they're called demigods, meaning they have human, half not human, half eternal beings. So like Prometheus, Hermes from the Greek mythology. Those were the kind of those were the brothers and sisters, except not in Christ, but in the demonic realm, in demonic DNA, I guess I should say. So anyway, so folks, the point is, there was a time where there was so much evil in the world. There was nothing but evil happening day and night, day and night, day and night. And the only family that was still quite pure and that had kindness in their hearts was the family of Noah. And that's why we're pursuing that project to build a Noah's Ark. This is what we'd like to call our eco-village, Noah's Ark community in Armenia. So we would be seeing as a reminder why he was chosen, because of his kindness, folks, and innocence. He was very kind, very innocent, and animals loved him. And he could heal. He was telepathic. He was just an incredible. He could teleport himself, miles away wherever he wanted. So he was a pure soul, and yet he had those supernatural abilities. Not like the fallen angels, folks. No, 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 no. Like Adam, essentially. Adam had those similar capabilities. Keep in mind, he was only removed from Adam by about 10 generations, roughly 10 or 12, something like that. Well, Enoch was, if Enoch was seventh from Adam, then Noah was his great grandchild. Yeah, so he was he was the 10th generation from Adam, folks. He was 3 generations. Noah was 3 generations away from Enoch. Enoch was 7 generations away from Adam. So it was like they knew, folks. They like walked by their sort of house, or not house, but I don't know where they live, but the dwelling place, folks. They walked by them, and so it's the only thing that we probably would greatly benefit from. Imagine waking up in the Ararat Valley, looking outside and seeing magnificent Mount Ararat. And when you see it, folks, when you see it, you will be breathless. I mean, you won't be able to talk for half a day. It's that beautiful. You could see the thumbnail on this video, folks. That's Mount Ararat. It's absolutely, and as from a distance, imagine we'll be living right kind of. The photograph was taken maybe 50, 60, 70 miles away from Mount Ararat, quite far away from the mountain. We'll be living approximately 10, 15 miles away. We cannot get any closer for many reasons, but one of the reasons, number one, it's a holy mountain. Number two, it's forbidden to climb it. And the most experienced climbers who've gone out there, up the mountain, they say that in a drop of a hat, and the weather changes from sunny to lightning bolts hitting the mountain several hundred times per minute. Remember, the elevation of the mountain is 5,000 plus meters, so 5 kilometers up there. That's quite a bit. So my point is, the just like Mount Olympus, they said Greek gods used to live there, from the Greek mythology. There are a lot of lightning bolts, stuff like that. It's the same at Mount Ararat. And so it's just not safe to be out there for many, many reasons. Up there, I mean, like close to it, because there's lightning storms are happening. Or there could be volcanic eruptions. So you don't want to live right on it or near it or on the slope. You want to live somewhere, like a safe distance would be 10 miles away. You could still see it very, very clearly. And it's even much more majestic when you are about 10, 20 miles away from it. It's just the perfect, you could actually wrap your mind could wrap itself around Mount Ararat. If you live right next to it, it's not as beautiful, folks. You see a lot of, lava formations because it's a stratovolcanic mountain. So you see a lot of lava, petrified rocks from when it erupted. It was erupting on periodically. It's not as beautiful up close, but it's very, very beautiful from about miles away, 20 miles away, even 30 miles away. So you'll see the thumbnail and you'll see how magnificent it is. And if you see it from space, you know, um, you'll be just incredibly mesmerized. So this is our plan, folks. If you want to join us at our Noah's Ark Eco Village, you could write to us. You could participate. You could get involved. Just our website. Just click on the link. You can write to us. You can get involved. You could do whatever you wish, folks. But this is our vision. Just like Eileen and Peter had their vision to found Fenhorn Eco Village in 1962. We're doing the same thing right now in a very, very comfortable climate. It's very nice and warm during the summertime. They have 4 seasons. They do have the fall or autumn season in Armenia. They do have winter, and with global warming, of course, winters are not as cold as they used to be, just like anywhere else, folks. Wherever you live, what it's like 20 years ago, we used to have snow. If you had snow, today it's like 50 degrees Fahrenheit, or it's 10 degrees Celsius, folks. Get used to it. They use Celsius out there in Armenia. So 50 degrees Fahrenheit would be 10 degrees Celsius. So anyway, those are mild winters now even in Armenia. It's global, folks. Global. Global warming is global. So this is our plan, folks. This is a plan to build a close-knit Christian community of believers. I'm not saying 300 of us, but if we ever get to 300, that would be such a blessing. So we are going to start a project in the next 6 to 12 months. If you have any ideas how we can expedite it, by all means, write to us. So on the financial aspect of this, folks, so how we're going to pay for it, it's very simple. We're going to sell all of our possessions and move to Armenia. That's right. So especially, folks, for example, if you're tired of living in a satanic totalitarian regime country where everything is money driven. Everything is about the satanic agenda in the public school system. And you want to move away to a Christian nation where people they relate to each other on that biblical level. That would be the reason why we're doing this. Especially if you went through a divorce, especially if you've lost your spouse, your entire family, if you lost all of your family members, especially if you're retired, you got nothing else to do, you want to move somewhere else. This is the reason why this would be perfect for you. So in other words, if you're only 21, you're starting your life, I don't know if you're welcome to join us, but this is for folks who have been through life, who've lost their loved ones, who've lost faith in the current system where we are in the West, and we want to live in a pure bliss near Mount Ararat as a reminder of God's glory and God's grace that who saved us by saving Noah and his family, and that the symbolism is phenomenal. Yes, at first you won't be able to talk, folks, once you see Mount Ararat that close, 10 miles away from in Armenia. So it's remarkable, it's beautiful, it's biblical, it's and just knowing that somewhere up there is Noah's Ark still to this day, it's just absolutely remarkable, unless it was teleported miraculously, by God, then that's the case. So, but that is our plan. This is a project, Noah's Ark Eco Village in Armenia. Again, if you'd like to join us, write to us, get involved. If you're ready to sell all your stuff, we're going to have a committee. So all of us will be selling all of our stuff as well. And we'll be kind of moving there probably as a group of people, almost simultaneously at the same time. So we could basically, essentially buy the land, start building our eco-friendly buildings, just like at the Finhorn Eco Village, with solar panels. Everything will be very quite modern and clean, simple but clean and modern. So in other words, we're not going to be living in tents. We'll be living in almost state of the art facility with solar panels, wind turbines, and stuff like that. Well, just look up Finhorn Foundation or Finhorn Village, and you'll see the buildings up there. And it's just a beautiful village that they've built over the years since 1962. We're going to try to build the same thing in Armenia. So if you want to join us, by all means. If not, think about it, pray about it, and you might change your mind down the line. But that's what we're doing. Pastor Sam is here. God bless you. We wish you all the best. Stay safe. Stay warm. Stay on the frequency of God. Keep pressing on. I ask God that He will send His angels to guard you, protect you, and all your family members and friends. You one day. God bless you. And we'll hopefully see you in Armenia at our Noah's Ark Eco Village. Take care. God bless you. And we'll see you. We'll talk to you soon.